The first thing I did in Halloween was pick up a pitchfork. I thought it might give me a fighting chance against him. I was right. A couple of minutes later, I ran into Michael Myers, the Shape himself. The fight that followed was quick. His knife against my pitchfork. I knocked him down, but that didn't mean I won. He's the boogeyman. Give him a minute and he sits right back up. But it was enough time for me to get a head start. If I wanted to survive a night in Haddonfield, that would have to be enough. If there was ever a film that was primed to be an asymmetrical horror game, John Carpenter's Halloween is it. But after spending some time with it at PAX East, what makes IllFonic's latest stand out isn't the asymmetrical horror structure, it's everything around it. Unlike most asymmetrical horror joints, Halloween isn't just a 1v4 game where Michael takes on a group of Haddonfield residents. It's the story of the town of Haddonfield, and what happens to that town when Michael Myers walks the streets. I wasn't just trying to save myself or the other folks I was playing with, I was trying to save the other people in town, too. Michael's here for everyone, including you, but he's especially interested in special targets, who are named NPCs scattered throughout Haddonfield. Keeping them alive means getting to them before he does, and letting them know there's a masked killer on the loose. Conversations are claustrophobic. I can barely see what's around me. Every time I'm vulnerable, every time he might be behind me. But once I convince the person I'm speaking to that the threat is real, we can help each other. They can call the cops, I can hand them a weapon, tell them to hide, follow me, point them to any escape we've unlocked. But even then, there are no guarantees. I can't stay with them forever, but they're better off than they were. Every journey into a house is a risk. Each time, I wonder if I'll open a door to see Michael on the other side, staring at me from behind the mask. I started locking doors, turning TVs off and on depending on how much noise I'm making. I open drawers and scour the trunks of cars for anything to give me an edge, a brick, a long dart, maybe even a joint. That one's to take the edge off. Inevitably, he's there, around a corner in the house, walking towards me on the street. Sometimes the things I've done to keep me safe end up backfiring. I lock a door leading outside, only to find Michael between myself and the other exit. Turn around, unlock the door I've just locked, and hope I can make it outside before he catches me. He doesn't run, but he doesn't always need to catch you. He has a knack for disappearing into the darkness, appearing around corners. I don't always understand how, at least not initially. The tension ebbs and flows. I know he's not always there, and I have to navigate the town to find what I need and save who I can. But it can change in an instant. Lead designer Jordan Mathewson told me that the design of Haddonfield itself, and making the people in it, was a crucial part of the story of each match. They wanted to capture what it would feel like to be in Haddonfield when Michael was on the loose, and that meant encounters with a bunch of different people that could play out in different ways. You had to care enough about the people in Haddonfield to want to save them while realizing you might be tempted to push them into Michael to give yourself a chance to get away. I feel it every time I pick up the phone to call the cops and the camera closes in a little tighter. Every time I walk through the open front door of a house I know I've never been inside. Every time I hear a window break. Maybe he's trying to get through it. Maybe someone's jumped out of it to get away. Sound becomes a crucial part of navigating Haddonfield. What I hear tells me where to go and the places I should avoid. Perhaps Halloween's greatest success, based on what I've played so far, is that Haddonfield feels like a place that exists outside of me. Things happen in these houses when I'm not there. Mathewson told me that was intentional too. The environment had to be in-depth enough that you could create your own horror movie. Eventually, I do manage to escape, though not because I finally found the bolt cutters to unlock one of the map's built-in exits. Enough of us call the cops and they roll in with a police wagon, and everyone who's left makes their way over. My pickaxe was good enough to put Michael on the ground for a while, but these guys have guns. I wait until most everyone makes it inside the wagon and then jump in myself. I've never been so happy to see the cops in my life. Then it's my turn as Michael. I get lucky early. I'm spawned right next to another player who is too focused on something else to notice me sneaking up behind them. I pick them up by the neck and slice their throat open. One down, though I know residents can sometimes come back as a sheriff's deputy or even Dr. Loomis himself. Michael is a different beast one I was forced to adapt to. He walks slowly, and when he speeds up, you can hear the heavy breathing behind the mask. He starts with a knife, but he can acquire other things, like a pickaxe, which makes for some truly gruesome executions. The way he swings his knife is ponderous. If you want to make sure someone doesn't get away, your best bet is to grab them. Stalking his victims long enough allows him to track them even if they get away. Locked doors only slow him down. Pickaxes and pistols might look like they hurt, but he'll just rise again. He feels like he does in the films. He's the boogeyman. But how do you put that into a video game and make it compelling to play and play against? According to Chief Creative Officer Jared Garretson, it meant building the entire game around Michael. IllFonic builds their games around the killer. They don't just slot them into an existing framework. In Michael's case, that meant watching a lot of Halloween and realizing one of the core parts of Michael's identity was being able to move around in the dark. As IllFonic pitched the game to Trancas International Films, who owns the Halloween license, the pacing decisions John Carpenter made became game mechanics. Michael loves hanging out in the dark, but why? Garretson told me that they seized on the idea that darkness allows him to move in and out of the world, and that became a core part of their pitch. Obviously, it paid off. That idea became Shape Jump, Michael's most defining and impressive ability. As long as he's in darkness or outside of a resident's line of sight, Michael can slip into the darkness, which makes him much faster, allows him to move through physical barriers like fences, and plan ambushes. If you're a citizen of Haddonfield, you might think he's behind you only to realize he's beaten you around the corner you were headed for. Shape Jump is extremely powerful, but it is limited. Michael cannot shape jump in the light, and he needs to be in darkness to re-enter the physical world. Smart civilians will run from light to light, using that to their advantage, but even the smartest civilians make mistakes, and one slip-up is all Michael needs. If being a civilian is an exercise in tension, inhabiting Michael is about power. The more he stalks and kills, the stronger he becomes, and the more executions and abilities he gains access to. As a civilian, you're not defenseless, but you are prey. Here, you're the hunter, and there's a sick thrill to stalking civilians, turning off the lights at the right moment, executing the perfect shape jump ambush, and simply walking after a resident who is desperate to get away. The attention to detail here is impressive, from the sound of Michael's breathing behind the mask to executions that mirror those seen in the films. You haven't lived until you've pinned a screaming teenager to a wall with a butcher knife. I focused on the special targets and managed to get all of them, but the real cat and mouse games were against the other players. Even if they did manage to knock me down, it was only a matter of time before I was back up and on the hunt. By the end, I was even taking on the cops. All I needed to do was get them alone. I ended up securing a minor victory, even if I was too late to the police wagon to take out another resident. Asymmetrical horror is hard, but what I loved about my time with Halloween was how different it feels from everything else in the genre, while simultaneously staying true to the films that inspired it. As a civilian, I'm not just fighting for myself, I'm fighting for my town. As Michael, I wasn't trying to just get other players, I wanted to wipe out a town that was actively fighting back. I haven't played anything quite like it, which makes sense because despite its imitators, there's still nothing quite like Halloween. If IllFonic can continue to hit on what makes Halloween tick, we might have something special on our hands. Horror films have given us a lot of scary guys in masks, but there's only one boogeyman. For more previews of the biggest upcoming games, check out our recent look at Seiros and Outbound. And for everything else in games, keep it here at IGN.
Marvel's Wolverine is Insomniac Games' next big single-player action game, and it's a PS5 exclusive planned for fall 2026. Insomniac has been on a serious run lately, and this one feels like a chance for them to go much darker than Spider-Man. This isn't a clean, friendly take on Logan. From what they've shown, they're leaning into a rougher, more violent version that actually fits the character. The claws look heavy, the hits look like they hurt, and yeah, even small things like the ray-traced shine on the adamantium make it feel nasty in a good way. That makes this exciting is Insomniac's track record. They nailed how Spider-Man moves, fights, and reacts to the world, so seeing that same level of care applied to Wolverine's rage, his healing kicking in mid-fight, and the raw force behind each swing is a big deal. They're also talking up character detail, which likely means visible scars, damage, and wear as you play. If they bring even close to the polish of Spider-Man 2, Marvel's Wolverine could end up being one of the more intense superhero games we've gotten in a long time.
It's all right. Lunka! Don't hurt her! You gave us quite the chase, young.
Please, sir. She's just a child!
Roderick, remind me, did I make an exception for children?
No, sire.
No. That would have been foolish, would it not? They spread the plague just as well as adults. And there's only one way to stamp out this sickness.
No!
Not just a runner, but a fighter, too. Had we met under a different moon, things might have
The Blood of Dawnwalker is a dark fantasy RPG coming in 2026 from Rebel Wolves, a studio formed by former Witcher 3 developers. Not just random staff either, but people who worked on the strongest parts of that game. They're using Unreal Engine 5 to build a version of 14th century Europe. And it's not a clean or heroic take on that time. It's grim, heavy, and tense. The game leans hard into player choice and story decisions, which isn't surprising given where these devs came from. The setting mixes real European history with darker fantasy elements and vampire mythology, and it fits together really well. The footage they've shown feels thick with atmosphere. Towns feel packed and lived in, light comes from torches and the moon instead of glowing game lamps. It looks grounded, not flashy. What stands out most is how personal this project feels. This doesn't look like a studio chasing trends. It looks like a team finally making the game they wanted to make. If you liked the tone and storytelling style of Witcher 3 and want something new that still feels handcrafted, The Blood of Dawnwalker is making the game they wanted to make. An eye on. If you liked the tone and storytelling style of Witcher 3,
This already released?
For all of you.
Everyone wears a mask. You too. This is a real face.
He let you live? What secret did you sell him? Only a dead person can keep a secret.
Phantom Blade Zero is an action RPG from S-Game, and it's set to launch on September 9th, 2026. This one came out of nowhere for a lot of people, and the reaction makes sense once you see it in motion. The game is built around fast wuxia-style combat, running on Unreal Engine 5, and the focus is clearly on sharp movement and long, flowing attack chains. Fights are quick, aggressive, and packed with parries, counters, and brutal boss encounters. What stands out is how smooth everything looks while still being fully playable. The animations flow cleanly from one move to the next, and the timing-heavy combat gives every hit some weight. The environments mix traditional Chinese buildings with a darker fantasy tone, and UE5 lighting and effects push that look hard. Slashes leave trails, impacts burst with particles. Even the main character's outfit has a ton of detail up close. If you're into stylish action games or martial arts combat that rewards skill and timing, Phantom Blade Zero is absolutely one to keep an eye on. Tomb Raider Catalyst is a brand new mainline Tomb Raider game from Crystal Dynamics, and it's currently set to launch in 2027. This isn't a remake or a side project, it's the next big chapter for Lara Croft, and it's being built fully in Unreal Engine 5. The setting this time is northern India, and the early concept art shows huge spaces, big mountain temples, thick jungles, and old ruins tucked into valleys. The last trilogy played well, but it was clearly built on tech that had been stretched for years. Catalyst doesn't have that problem. Everything is being designed around modern hardware from the start. That likely means taller spaces, more layered levels, and puzzles that lean harder into movement and timing. Lara herself is getting a big upgrade too. More detailed animations, better facial work during story scenes, and more natural movement overall. Northern India gives them a lot to work with visually and culturally, and it feels like Crystal Dynamics finally has the tools to go all in without cutting corners.
Something is coming. An intrusive pattern. Of staggering power. Reshaping reality as we know it. Everything we tried to keep inside eventually worms its way out.
Control Resonant is Remedy's next major release, and it's planned for 2026. Remedy has already said this is their biggest project yet, and after Alan Wake 2, that claim carries weight. The first Control stood out because of its strange spaces and powers that felt strong and wild. The oldest house shifting and bending around you never got old. Now take that same idea and build it with the upgraded Northlight engine used in Alan Wake 2. That tech handled lighting, shadows, and detail incredibly well. Bringing that level of detail into Control's weird architecture is kind of a perfect match. Expect stranger rooms, cleaner geometry, and powers that look even more intense in motion. Jesse's abilities should feel heavier and clearer on screen. Remedy also doesn't half commit to ideas. They lean into the strange stuff fully, and that's where their games stand apart. This story has a lot of loose threads too, so there's plenty of room to push things further.
They're combing the streets, searching house to house.
If they arrest you two, they will take you to their headquarters, and you will not return.
I'm more concerned with the 6-foot cat man who's got claws that can cut through vibranium alloy.
Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra is a story-focused Marvel game set during World War II and directed by Amy Hennig. Yeah, that Amy Hennig. The Uncharted director making a Marvel game already tells you a lot about the direction here. This is coming in 2026. It's built on Unreal Engine 5.4, and the character models they've shown look almost unreal. You could pause a trailer and mistake it for a movie shot. The game centers on Black Panther and Captain America teaming up during the war, which is a time period Marvel hasn't really dug into like this before. That alone makes it interesting. But the bigger deal is the focus on characters and story. This doesn't look like an open map full of icons and busy work. It looks tight, focused, and very deliberate. Big moments, smaller character scenes, and a clear start-to-finish story. The facial animation tech they're using lets characters actually show emotion in a way games usually struggle with. Not stiff faces, not blank stares, actual reactions. Amy Hennig has always been great at making stories feel human, and now she's got modern tech and the Marvel license to work with. If you've been waiting for a Marvel game that feels more like a serious story instead of a checklist, this one feels like it's aiming right at that gap. Ace Combat 8: Wings of Thave is the next main entry in Bandai Namco's Jet Combat series.